Welcome to Obsolete Futures.
Welcome everybody to Obsolete Futures. I have a tale to tell, and it all starts with this. What is this, you might ask? Well, this happens to be a laptop. Not just any laptop, though. This is a Sony Vaio, a very special kind of a laptop. Let's see if it'll wake up. And this is a laptop that I got specifically from Japan. Now, it's not really possible to see that, is it? But it's very cool. It's got a lot of cool features. It's useless. I mean, even when it was new, it was kind of useless. The processor is so underpowered, and, you know, they shot really high, shot for the stars and missed, kind of made it up to tree level. This thing is fantastic, though, with the features. It's got a lot of interesting things, like a built-in type of SIM card, so you could connect to the internet anywhere. It's got all the features you'd expect from a laptop of the time. And it's preloaded with Windows 7. Has like cool little touch things here, so you can actually hold it on the screen here and do the things. I'll actually take a close-up of it and show you what I'm talking about. But this thing has led to some horrible situation recently, which I'll explain to you. First of all, the reason I got this thing is because it's loaded up with what is called an OS ton. Now, I specifically, when I went to Japan, was on the lookout for something like this. So I was going through the second-hand markets. I think it's called like Hard Off, something like that. I hope I'm not making that up. I'll check. I was going through the second-hand markets looking for cool, gadgets and things to bring back home with me, and this is one of the things that I bought. It wasn't very expensive, but it's cool because it's JDM, Japanese domestic market. It has the Japanese keyboard, and I actually have a use for that kind of thing, which you'll find out in future episodes, because I like to deal with old tech where I label things in katakana and hiragana and so on in the Japanese script, and I like it, like old mini discs and things, which is coming up. However, the main reason I bought it is because of the OS ton. And what is an OS ton, you might be asking? Well, it's a fascinating thing. At least I think so. In Japan, they have made mascots for operating systems.
Why?
This, who you can see on the background here, is Nanami. And Nanami is the official mascot for Windows 7.
Seriously?
So you had these cute promotional events where she was basically there to sell Windows 7 and to promote it. And, you got a special DVD when you bought the special edition of Windows 7 in Japan, which had this cute little cartoon on it, which I'll put a little bit of it up here for you to see. But basically, she is the Windows 7 chick. She's the Windows 7 mascot. And you find this for Windows 8 and for various other operating systems, not just Microsoft operating systems, but Japan, they like to have mascots. They like to have mascots for their little town or for their, vegetable produce or whatever it might be. So operating systems are not off the cards. Now, I've actually asked a very good friend of mine who's a very talented artist to make a video toaster, Amiga ton, so OS ton. So in other words, a mascot for the Amiga and the video toaster. And here I present it to you. Yes, that is, of course, modeled after Kiki Stockhammer. I did a whole episode about her. And, of course, it's modeled after her silhouette, which is, why it's colored that way. I wanted to give something back to the community. I've got it free for download. I'll figure out how you can get it. I'll put a link in the description below if you want it. Use it as a wallpaper. Use it however you like. Feel free. And I'd like to go through a little bit of history of OS tons. But before I do, I got to tell you how this little laptop put me in a world of hurt. So as you know, I film and edit everything on ancient technology. There's nothing modern here. I'm using that old broadcast camera that belonged to a TV station way back in the day. I'm using an ancient NewTek TriCaster, one of their first generation standard definition ones, to edit and to capture this. And I'm using a video toaster in conjunction with that. And, this microphone is plugged directly into the TriCaster. There's nothing in between. I'm not using any fancy audio equipment. I'm not using any Macintosh or Adobe or Final Cut. It's all straight out of this. I export the file, I take it out, and then I go and upload it to YouTube. Thing is, I've set up a pretty complicated network here. In fact, I've got it. Let me just switch over. Yeah, okay. Man, why didn't I use a transition? That's silly of me. Anyway, maybe I'll do that properly. Give me a second. Well, wrong one. I should probably be doing this. And then Well, just so you know, this is all on the fly. I do everything manually. This here is my server rack. So what you see here is a very poorly lit and very difficult to see server rack. This is my TriCaster 455 XD. This is kind of cool. In fact, I'm probably going to go move this camera so you can see what I'm doing here. But take a look at this. Okay, I'll pull it all the way out. Okay, up you go. That is... Hang on. Turn this on. That is the screen and keyboard that I have in here connected to my servers and whatnot. Let me just go move this thing. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so I've turned on the light so you can see what I'm talking about here. So there is my monitor and keyboard, which is cool. It's IBM. Let me just pack that away. Okay, that's packed away. Let's take a look at what we've got here. That's obviously overkill, and I've built in a lot of future-proofing. I've got a lot of network cables, and I've got 2 switches, managed switches. I have an old Dell server, an R610, which is really cool. And then below it is this thing over here. That's a network-attached storage. Below it, I have some other big server. It's a Dell R9 something or other. I'm fixing it. It got damaged in shipping. I got a couple VHS tapes. Then I have another one of those network attached storage things. And then I have an interruptible power supply, UPS, in case the power goes off. Now, I know this is not very important, but this is part of the story, so that's why I'm showing you. So let me just get back to where I was, and we can continue. Okay, just to prove that this is really me over here, same deal. Here I am. This is the thingy over here. So some of you have noticed that there's kind of a hum in the background of my videos sometimes. Well, that's what that's all about. I do try to turn everything off, but I leave the network attached storage running. Now, the reason I'm telling you about this, and again, I'm sorry if this is taking a long time to get to, but this thing is at fault. Those network attached storage things that I got, they're called like a Buffalo Terror Station. They used to be pretty good for like general office use. If you had not obviously a very professional environment, but somewhere in between. They're pretty good. They can take 4 hard drives in them. They've got built-in RAID. They've got 2 1 gigabit network cables in them, which you can actually trunk together to make it like double the speed. Very good, very good. And they're cheap now. You can buy them on eBay for like around about $100 thereabouts without any hard drives in, of course. That's where the real cost comes in. So I bought these things, and I was setting them up. And they're quite irritating to set up because you need some kind of proprietary software that you have to install on a Windows machine. Not a modern Windows machine. It doesn't run on like the latest stuff. It won't run on a Macintosh. So, you know, I use Macs for my main work. And so I thought, hey, I've got a Windows machine that I can use. Do you guys start to see that there's a problem here? So I whipped out this old Windows 7 machine from Japan, because it's been pretty much untouched. I messed around with it for a while. I did play around with it and, you know, took a look at it. But it's been kind of sitting in my cupboard the whole time. So I pulled this out, downloaded the software, put the software on here. Now, I'm pretty conscious when it comes to security and stuff. I know that an old Windows 7 machine, not a good idea to connect it to the internet. So I downloaded it, put it on a USB drive, put it on here, connected it up to this network so that I could run this special software. And this special software is important. You need it in order to configure those things. In other words, those network attached storage things are not going to be able to be configured. You can't give it an IP address. You can't log into it. You can't do anything without first running a configuration software off of a Windows machine. So everything's great. Set everything up. Everything's running very well. I got both of them working. I set up my network shares. I'm enjoying this, having this extra space to back everything up, and it's using RAID 5, which, if you don't know what that is, it has redundancy. If one of the hard drives fail, you can swap it out and it'll rebuild the data. So very cool stuff. I'm very happy. And then I start to notice some things. Suddenly, my TriCasters are being a bit weird. They're not connecting to the network properly. I can't change certain settings, and I'm like, there's something sus going on here. And I've been transferring things back and forth on little USB drives, and I took the USB drive from the last episode I made about laserdiscs out of my TriCaster, plugged it into my Windows 11 machine that I have in the house, and bam, threat detected. You are infected with a configure worm virus. So, I go through all of this effort to keep all of these systems completely quarantined. It's on an air-gapped network. No internet connection allowed in this office, in this room. No internet connection to anything. But this was hiding something all the way from Japan. This was infected. And so my entire network was infected. Both of my TriCasters that I use, my Windows 2008 server that runs, I've got, on the Dell there. And, of course, everything that's plugged into it. Oh, even my TriCaster 455, because it's a Windows 7 machine, and, just like this, it gets infected. Great stuff. I've been battling that now for weeks, because that's a very tricky virus or worm to get rid of, because it self-replicates, it replicates through network shares, and very frustratingly, the removal tools that were available back in the day, because Microsoft, there was a big problem for Microsoft. I remember they put a bounty on the guy who developed this, they actually put money down and tried to track him down, and there was a huge thing. Microsoft put out a pretty good removal tool for it, and of course other antivirus software companies did as well. But none of that exists anymore. All the websites are down. Nothing works. It took me forever to find links on archive.org of websites that are long since dead to finally get the tools to start to remove it. So it's been quite the process. And of course, in that process, I realized the dangers of running this sort of obsolete tech if you're not careful. And it is tough because, these old machines, there's no sort of antivirus you can get for them anymore. And the ones that used to exist back in the day, you can't find them to download. And it's just a pain. So you got to be ultra careful.
What is this trash?
So finally, I got it under control. I have now removed all of the viruses, the worms. Hopefully they don't come back. I mean, there's always a chance I put in an infected USB drive again and everything just gets messed up. But you know what? I'm pretty vigilant now. I don't think it'll happen again. So let's finish off by talking about the OS tons once again. Now, Microsoft officially released for Windows 7, Windows 8, and Windows 10 OS tons. And I think for Microsoft Silverlight, and I know there's an Internet Explorer ton that was released as well, believe it or not. And I think this is kind of cool. The whole idea of attaching a personality to an operating system, I mean, it sounds really weird, doesn't it? But it's awesome. And this started out actually way before as a fan thing. People started to create mascots for Windows XP, Windows ME, these types of things, give them personality. And Microsoft saw that it was so popular and it had such a massive fan base that they decided that they would actually just adopt it and use it officially, which is great. Unfortunately, it kind of died after Windows 10. I don't believe there were any more official OS tons. But still, I really enjoy the whole idea of assigning personality to technology. I've always done this, when I have a network, my computers have very specific personalities. I give, for instance, my server that I showed you earlier. It's the center of everything here, so it's called Nexus. I give names to each and every computer and attached device depending on what it does. My TriCasters are named after the high schools that they came from, because remember they were used in media centers in high schools. These two, anyway, I've got a third one from a broadcast station. This, the 455 I showed you earlier, it comes from like a radio station. It's interesting. I'm going to show you some of the, digital archaeology off of that. You'll be quite surprised where it comes from. But, it's so cool to do this kind of thing. And, my fascination with things like the video toaster, as you see here, and of course the whole community surrounding the Amiga and the whole retro computer scene is fantastic. And that's why I'm so happy to be able to contribute something, at least in the form of the video toaster ton, which you saw earlier, which my very talented friend drew for me and we put together. So I hope you appreciate it. I hope you like it. And if you think it's weird and silly, well, you know what? That's fine too. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being a part of what I'm doing here, because it's fun and it gives me a chance to talk about the things I really enjoy. So thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, just like the video toaster and OS tons, stay awesome.